Today is April 9th. It is Holy Thursday. Not Thursday of Holy Week, but Holy Thursday, a day so significant that it has its own name. And I'm also wearing my mask tonight to remind you to wear your mask whenever you venture out in public, for your safety and health and for that of those around you. I'm standing next to the altar at Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church. There's an altar in every single Catholic church. It's where we remember the Last Supper, which was the first Mass. The Last Supper, which took place at the Passover meal, where the apostles and Jesus were gathered around the Passover table. Now, sometimes the altar is referred to as the table of the Lord or a table of fellowship. So which is it? Table or altar? Well, the answer is both, because it is a meal, a sacred meal, commenced at a ritual meal of Passover that our Jewish brothers and sisters continue to celebrate every year. But also an altar reminding us of the Lamb of God and his sacrifice on the altar of the cross, where he gave his life for us and for the salvation of all humanity, the Lamb of God. And the altar is an image from the temple where the lambs would be sacrificed in the temple at the altar. Now Christ is that final sacrifice once for all, as we read in the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 10. Christ was sacrificed once for all. No longer did anybody have to offer any sacrifice for expiation of sins, but Jesus did that. God did that for us. So we Catholics believe every time we gather for Mass, we are present at that one sacrifice. We are present at the Last Supper, we are present at the cross, and we are present at the resurrection. So what we commemorate on Holy Thursday is not just the sacrifice, but also the Passover meal and that call to community, that call to fellowship, and that call to mission. Because if you look over to my right, what you also see are the bowl and the pitcher and the towels for the washing of the feet. Because of the coronavirus and we're not having a public liturgy, we won't be having a washing of the feet, but we wanted to present those in symbol tonight in the church. Interestingly enough, though, when we think of the Passover meal, we think of the Last Supper, the Mass, we think of that as a central part of our faith, the thing that unites us, and it's our strength. But it didn't take place at a moment of strength in the life of Jesus. In fact, at the moment it took place, it seemed that everything was falling apart. There's a remarkable book by Timothy Radcliffe, who was the Father General of the Dominican family at one time, called "What is the Point of Being a Christian?" And he has a comment in here that struck me. He wrote that the Last Supper was a moment of crisis in Jesus' relationship with his disciples. The community collapsed. The bonds of fellowship were denied and subverted. In fact, as I was thinking about this and reading these words, immediately I thought, after the Last Supper, Jesus was arrested. Judas betrayed him. Peter denied him. The rest fled. This is the Mass? It's an odd way to start, are the comments that I wrote in the margin here. When we gather for Mass, we're gathering for a time when Jesus was at the low point. At the low point of his ministry, it looked like it was falling apart. But listen how Father Radcliffe continues. Jesus embraced that crisis and made it fertile. Jesus embraced that crisis and made it fertile. When we give ourselves most deeply to other people, then almost inevitably, there will be a moment of potential disaster. The Last Supper invites us not to run away from crisis, but to embrace it, confident that it can bear fruit. Already, we can see where the coronavirus is bearing fruit in the way it's making us more appreciative of each other, more appreciative of our health, more appreciative of healthcare workers, more appreciative of time together as families, more appreciative of the Holy Mass that we're not able to all be present for. So there are some good things that are coming out of it. Yes, it's a moment of crisis. It's a big problem. Just as Jesus being denied and betrayed and abandoned was a big problem. The cross was a big problem. I'm not denying that. But Jesus brought fruitfulness out of that moment of crisis. And he will bring fruitfulness out of this moment of crisis in our history. And we're called then to be Christ in the world, to be Christ for each other. It's captured very beautifully in a song that is both in English and Spanish. It captures how we're called to be Christ from what we receive here. Amén, el cuerpo de Cristo. Amén, la sangre del Señor. Eating his body, drinking his blood, we become what we receive. Amen. Amen. God bless you.